There's a moment in every seeker's life when the ground begins to move beneath them. It doesn't come with warning, nor with thunder. It comes in silence, disguised as awakening. You start to see that your thoughts are not just private noises. They are instruments shaping matter. You begin to understand manifestation, and with that understanding, something shifts. You feel a spark of control, a whisper of infinite potential. But what most never realize in that moment is that the same power that creates your dreams also creates your fears. The current of imagination doesn't discriminate. It magnifies whatever you feed it. That is the unseen risk of partial awakening, the moment when consciousness expands faster than emotional maturity. Neville Goddard once said, "The world is yourself pushed out." It sounds poetic until life proves it to you. Because if the world is your own consciousness made visible, then every fragment of unresolved pain is also projected outward, sculpting your experience as faithfully as your desires do. Every fear you deny, every resentment you bury, every doubt you avoid, they don't vanish. They manifest. The law doesn't have favorites. It obeys assumption. And the moment you begin to wake up, the law begins to move faster. It's not punishment, it's precision. Awareness amplifies creation. At higher levels of consciousness, even an idle thought has weight, because it's backed by a clearer channel of energy. This is why awakening can feel chaotic. You start seeing immediate reflections of your inner state, not because life has turned against you, but because the veil is thinner. The same principle that turns imagination into miracles also turns suppressed emotion into circumstance. The creative force is neutral. It listens to feeling, not to intention. And this is where danger is born. When identity and intention are out of alignment, you say you want peace, but your inner tone still vibrates with fear. You claim abundance, but your body remembers lack. Creation becomes dual, success entangled with self-sabotage. Dr. Bruce Lipton reminds us that your subconscious mind, stored even in the language of your cells, overrides your conscious words. You can affirm, "I am worthy," all day, but if your nervous system is still coded for survival, it will project reality through that lens. Your biology and your belief are not separate. They dance as one field. This is why Neville's teachings meet science at the same doorway. Assumption lives not in the intellect, but in the body's feeling. What you emotionally accept as true becomes your atmosphere. The more awake you are, the faster the field responds. Every assumption, spoken or unspoken, conscious or hidden, begins to crystallize more quickly. That is both liberation and danger. When your awareness expands, but your self-image remains fragmented, creation accelerates both light and shadow. You start to manifest not only your highest intentions, but also your deepest neglects. It's not a curse, it's feedback. The universe mirrors your inner coherence, and the higher your vibration, the more instant the mirror becomes. The most dangerous level of manifestation is not dark magic or demonic interference. It's unconscious creation through a partially awakened mind. It's when you have touched the truth that you are the cause, but have not yet learned to hold that truth with gentleness. Imagination and identity collide, and the explosion feels like confusion, chaos, or loss. But beneath that chaos, life is teaching you the sacred law of responsibility. Every feeling matters now. Every thought carries creative charge. You have entered the stage where nothing can be hidden, and that is both the trial and the blessing of true awakening. So this journey is not about fear, it's about precision. To wield creation responsibly, you must know what you're assuming in silence. You must listen not just to your words, but to the emotional hum beneath them. Because the creative power that flows through you is not new. It has always been active. You are simply becoming aware of it. And awareness multiplies effect. The invitation here is not to shrink from power, but to sanctify it, to align your assumptions with your higher self, so that your manifestation becomes clean, coherent, and compassionate. This is the initiation that few speak of, the moment when imagination demands integrity. It is the crossing between being a dreamer and becoming a conscious creator. And it asks of you one thing: to feel responsibly. The universe is no longer a distant force to please or command. It is the echo of your inner tone. The question now is not, how do I manifest what I want? But, what am I truly being? Because that beingness is already broadcasting, already building. Tonight, as you listen, as you breathe, allow yourself to feel the magnitude of this truth. The power that creates worlds lives in you. It is neither safe nor dangerous by itself. It simply is. The danger appears only when you forget that your inner world and the outer are one continuous flow. This lesson will show you how to turn that awareness from volatility into mastery, from reaction into deliberate creation, from danger into divine precision. Because when imagination is guided by love, it no longer destroys, it redeems. There is a silent truth most people never notice. Manifestation doesn't begin when you start affirming. It began the day you started breathing. You are not learning to create. You are remembering that you've been creating all along. Every emotional response, every self-concept, every quiet assumption has been shaping your life in invisible rhythm. The law doesn't wait for permission. It operates through the state you occupy. The same way gravity pulls at you whether or not you believe in it, imagination responds to the emotional tone you sustain, translating inner vibration into outer fact. Most call it coincidence. The awakened call it reflection. Neville Goddard revealed this law with a simplicity that disarms the intellect. An assumption, though false if persisted in, will harden into fact. These words carry the essence of creative power. They mean that feeling precedes event, that what you inwardly accept as true must eventually appear not as reward or punishment, but as balance. The world doesn't argue, it confirms. Every assumption acts as a command to the unseen forces that organize your life. Persist in lack, and lack crystallizes. Persist in fullness, and fullness takes shape. Life cannot do otherwise because it is your own consciousness wearing form. Modern science calls this predictive coding. The brain does not passively record reality. It actively generates it. It fills in sensory gaps with patterns of expectation, making you see only what aligns with your inner model. In other words, your biology itself is a mechanism of manifestation. When you expect rejection, your body tenses, your tone shifts, your perception narrows, and the world complies with the script your nervous system rehearses. When you assume belonging, your posture, language, and magnetism change accordingly, and the environment rearranges to match that energy. The outer scene bends to the inner conviction. To see this law in motion, you only need to look at your last few emotional reactions. The irritation that rose when someone didn't text back, the fear that whispered when you checked your bank account, the warmth you felt when you were seen for who you are. Each was a mirror of an assumption already alive within you. Every emotion is a messenger revealing what you believe to be true about yourself and about life. The law is always running, and emotion is its language. If you study these reactions, you'll see the map of your creation laid bare, moment by moment. The beauty and the danger lie in the same place. The law never turns off. You cannot step outside of it any more than you can step outside of gravity. Even when you are asleep to your own power, it's sculpting the conditions you call fate. This is why awakening is not about learning a new technique. It's about taking radical ownership of a process that has always been active. You are not summoning forces from outside. You are aligning with what already flows through you. You are not a student of manifestation. You are its living proof. Think of it like this. The air around you is dense with unseen substance, waiting to be impressed by feeling. Each time you feel something as true, you give that substance shape. The universe is not waiting for your next affirmation. It is responding to the vibration you carry between words. And once that vibration stabilizes, reality crystallizes with mathematical precision. The delay you perceive is not a lack of response. It is grace, giving you time to choose what you wish to persist in. This understanding can feel both empowering and unsettling. Empowering because you realize nothing is random. Unsettling because it means your hidden assumptions are as creative as your conscious ones. Yet there is mercy in that realization. When you see that life is neutral reflection, you stop blaming the mirror. You begin to polish the lens through which you see. You stop fighting effects and start mastering cause, and that is where true freedom begins. So pause for a moment and let this sink in. You are already using the law. Right now, in this breath, through the mood you hold and the thoughts you silently nurture. The universe is not waiting for you to start. It is waiting for you to notice. Because the moment you do, creation shifts from accident to artistry. The invisible power that has always served your unconscious will begin to serve your deliberate faith. The law works whether you know it or not. But when you finally know it, truly know it, you stop creating by chance and start creating by choice. If this truth is already awakening something in you, stay close. Subscribe now, so the next time awareness calls, you'll already be listening. There is a stage in every awakening when the light arrives too quickly. It feels like standing at the edge of a vast horizon, seeing for the first time that every thought, every feeling, every belief is a brushstroke on the canvas of your world. You suddenly know you are the creator, yet your emotional body still carries the habits of the old self, the one who reacted, doubted, feared. And so you find yourself between two worlds, one that is consciously aware of its power and one that still trembles under the weight of its conditioning. This is the dangerous half-awakening. It is not a punishment, but a test of alignment. Knowledge without embodiment becomes turbulence. You see the storm of your own making, but haven't yet learned how to quiet it. Neville Goddard warned about this subtle threshold when he said, "Be careful of your moods. They are the secret moves of God." A mood is not harmless. It is the living energy of assumption, the frequency through which creation flows. To know this truth intellectually but not live it emotionally is like holding fire without realizing it burns. When your awareness expands but your emotional discipline does not, you begin to create both miracles and messes at once. One moment, faith lifts you into synchronicity. The next, doubt pulls you into delay. You are not broken. You are simply experiencing amplified reflection. Every mood now echoes louder because consciousness has turned the volume up. Modern neuroscience gives language to what Neville saw through the eye of imagination. Your emotional state determines which neural pathways fire, which memories surface, which perceptions dominate your field. Moods act as filters, sculpting the world you perceive. A mood of fear narrows vision and tunes the mind to threats. A mood of gratitude widens perception and reveals possibilities. Each is a lens, and the universe, faithful as ever, mirrors that lens back to you in experience. Awareness of this mechanism is a gift, but without emotional mastery, it becomes a double-edged sword. You begin to sense the power of creation, but lack the steadiness to guide it. This is why half-awakening can feel exhausting. You oscillate between lucidity and confusion. You catch glimpses of your own divinity, then fall back into the gravity of old reactions. It's not regression, it's recalibration. The mind is learning to serve a new master, consciousness itself. Old circuits protest because they were built on survival, not creation. You start noticing every emotional fluctuation as a potential manifestation seed, and that awareness can feel like pressure. But in truth, it's training. The universe is teaching you emotional hygiene, how to hold a state long enough for it to solidify into form. Imagine awareness as a child handed a loaded weapon of imagination. The child doesn't yet understand precision. It only knows power. In untrained hands, the creative force shoots in all directions. Some intentions born of love, others fired by fear. This is why mastery begins not with greater effort, but with greater stillness. Before creation comes containment. Before manifestation comes self-regulation. To create deliberately, you must first learn to feel safely, to allow emotion without letting it command you. You become the witness of your own vibration, choosing which states deserve persistence and which must be released. Every hour holds the opportunity for inner calibration. When you notice yourself tense, irritated, hopeful, or inspired, you are glimpsing the palette of states available to you. This is the real art of manifestation, not chasing outcomes, but cultivating inner climate. The awakened creator does not fear feeling, they refine it. They use emotion as compass, not as cage. Awareness without emotional grounding is perilous because it magnifies whatever it touches. But when awareness and feeling unite, creation becomes deliberate harmony rather than accidental chaos. The half-awakened stage is the bridge between knowing and being. It's uncomfortable because identity is dissolving. You are shedding the self who reacted unconsciously and growing into the one who responds from presence. The danger fades when you learn to pause before emotion becomes movement, when you remember that feeling is not fate until you persist in it. That is when you begin to control what you create, not through force but through quiet dominion. This stage is sacred. It is the apprenticeship of the soul, where intellect bows to embodiment. You are learning that awareness without love is electricity without insulation. It shocks more than it illuminates, but when you pair awareness with tenderness, the same current becomes light. This is the turning point of all conscious creation, when you stop fearing your moods and start honoring them as divine indicators. Every emotion becomes a guide, every fluctuation a reminder that creation is always responding. And when you begin to hold awareness gently, without panic, without control, the dangerous half-awakening transforms into mastery. You no longer fight the currents, you navigate them. You no longer tremble at your power, you begin to wield it with grace. There comes a moment in the path of awakening when the ego, subtle and clever, learns the language of spirituality. It starts speaking in sacred words, but for profane purposes. It no longer seeks validation through struggle, it seeks it through control. It whispers, "If you can manifest reality, you can make others bend to your will. You can orchestrate outcomes, manipulate timing, decide who loves you and when." It sounds like confidence, but beneath it lies fear. Fear of uncertainty, fear of surrender, fear of allowing life to move freely through you. This is the ego's hijack, the moment when the sacred art of creation is used as armor rather than expression. The hidden urge to control arises from an old wound, the part of you that once felt powerless, unseen, or rejected. That fragment remembers the pain of chaos and now mistakes control for safety. Yet manifestation was never meant to dominate the world. It was meant to reveal your unity with it. Neville Goddard dismantled this illusion with crystalline clarity. You never change others, you change self, and others reflect that change. To manipulate another's behavior is to remain a prisoner of separation. You may temporarily shape appearances, but the vibration of control always collapses under its own weight. The universe mirrors the energy behind the act, not the act itself. And control, no matter how spiritualized, is still born from fear. From the lens of psychology, the need to control stems from early attachment wounds, moments when safety depended on prediction, when love was conditional, when uncertainty meant pain. Those experiences etched a pattern into the nervous system. If I can manage everything, I won't be hurt again. As awakening deepens, this pattern often disguises itself as conscious creation. You start believing you must manifest perfectly, or the universe will withhold its blessings. You chase precision not for peace, but to avoid loss. But this is not manifestation. It's hypervigilance wearing spiritual clothing. True creation doesn't emerge from control. It blossoms from coherence. Control contracts energy. Coherence opens it. When you try to manifest outcomes by bending external pieces into place, you are essentially reaffirming that your inner world is not enough. You declare through vibration, "I do not trust life to deliver what aligns with me, so I must force it." That very signal becomes your limitation. Every attempt to command the universe through tension produces resistance, because control and faith cannot coexist. Control says, "I must make this happen." Faith whispers, "It is already happening through me." The more you trust, the less you manipulate. The less you manipulate, the more effortlessly life conforms to your state of being. Control may create temporary form, but surrender creates permanence. There's a quiet power in reframing desire itself. When the ego wants to change others, the conscious self asks, "Who must I become to naturally evoke that reflection?" You begin to see that no person, no situation, no external validation needs to be forced. They are mirrors responding to your state. If you wish to experience love, embody the vibration of love until the world has no choice but to echo it. If you wish to experience respect, hold yourself in dignity until respect becomes the atmosphere around you. This isn't moral advice, it's vibrational law. You don't instruct others through intention, you instruct the universe through identity. Neville understood this with poetic precision. He taught that to change the world, you change the assumption about yourself from which the world arises. You do not touch the reflection. You alter the face that looks into the mirror. And as you do, every image rearranges. The ego resists this because it wants immediate external proof, yet true power moves from the inside out. The one who tries to control outcomes drowns in effort. The one who embodies the desired state becomes magnetic. Manifestation ceases to be warfare and becomes resonance. Imagine water in motion, fluid, adaptable, unstoppable. When it flows, it nourishes. When it freezes, it fractures its container. The same energy that animates creation becomes destructive when rigid. Control is frozen power. Flow is trust in motion. The creator who controls believes the current belongs to them. The conscious creator understands they are the current itself. The more you cling, the more life breaks through your grasp. The moment you release control, you rediscover the natural intelligence that always knew how to carry you toward alignment. To awaken is not to command. It is to remember. It is to recognize that the world responds to who you are being, not what you are forcing. The ego seeks to dominate creation. The soul seeks to dance with it. When you allow the ego's grasp to soften, the same force that once tried to control becomes a channel of grace. Power remains, but purified. Desire remains, but harmonized. You move through life not as a manipulator of energy, but as its conductor, shaping vibration through coherence rather than coercion. And that is when manifestation returns to its rightful place, as an act of love, not a strategy of fear. Beneath every conscious desire lives a quiet room, the dark room of the soul, where unprocessed emotions wait to be seen. What we refuse to feel never disappears. It reshapes itself as circumstance. The same creative power that turns faith into form also turns pain into repetition. Every suppressed fear or guilt continues to manifest, not as punishment, but as reflection. Neville Goddard understood this when he taught that we cannot selectively manifest. Unresolved emotion holds as much creative charge as deliberate intention. His practice of revision, reimagining painful memories until peace replaces pain, transmutes energy at its source. It's not rewriting the past, it's cleansing its vibration. Dr. Bruce Lipton's work affirms the same truth biologically. Subconscious fear alters cellular behavior, programming the body for defense instead of growth. The mind and body mirror each other. Both project what remains unhealed. Repression is simply creation in shadow. Each denied emotion continues developing in the unseen until it becomes visible as pattern. Healing begins when awareness touches it with love. Then the darkroom no longer breeds chaos. It becomes a sacred laboratory where old emotion is turned into new light, and the unseen finally returns to harmony. When consciousness awakens, life stops waiting. The space between thought and manifestation narrows, and reality begins to echo every inner movement with astonishing precision. What once felt random now unfolds as immediate reflection. The mirror of existence becomes sharper because awareness removes delay. The universe no longer protects you from yourself, it reveals you to yourself. Neville Goddard said, "Be not afraid of feeling, it will shape your world." The awakened soon understand this literally. Every assumption, every emotional undercurrent materializes faster because light exposes what darkness once concealed. As awareness grows, denial becomes impossible. Even the smallest misalignment surfaces as circumstance. This intensified feedback is not punishment, but refinement. Consciousness demands coherence. When action and belief diverge, tension rises until truth is restored. Reality ceases to be a distant teacher and becomes an instant reflection. You begin to live inside your own vibration with no buffer between thought and effect. This is the mercy within the ruthlessness. The mirror accelerates so you may master precision. Life stops whispering and begins to speak clearly, showing exactly what you are being in every moment, inviting you to create not by accident, but by immaculate awareness. At the higher levels of awareness, fear no longer hides behind coincidence. It becomes creation in motion. The same energy that births miracles when filtered through panic shapes outcomes that confirm the fear itself. Intense emotion is creative fuel, and the universe does not distinguish between faith and dread. It only amplifies what is felt with conviction. Fear rehearsed often enough becomes prophecy. Neville Goddard warned of this silent recreation. Do not waste one moment in regret, for to think feelingly of the mistakes of the past is to reinfect yourself. Every time you revisit worry with emotion, you cast that image again into the field of form. Neuroscience mirrors this truth. The amygdala, seat of emotional memory, records fear as expectation. The brain begins predicting danger, and the body prepares to meet it, attracting experiences that match its preparation. Yet fear is not an enemy. It is raw, unshaped power awaiting redirection. When consciousness meets fear without resistance, the current reverses. The same energy that once created chaos becomes coherence. Panic dissolves into vision. The creative force remains unchanged. Only the signal shifts. In that instant, what was once a nightmare becomes a portal, and fear transforms into faith, disguised as a lesson in disguise. As awareness deepens, creation begins to respond with such precision that a subtle temptation emerges, the illusion of personal supremacy. You start to see the world bend to your assumptions, and ego quietly whispers, "I am the cause of all things." What began as union with divine power turns into possession by it. The creator complex is the final mask of separation, where the self mistakes the current for the source. Neville Goddard warned against this distortion through humility. Man's imagination is Christ in action. You are not the origin of creation, you are its vessel. The moment you claim authorship rather than participation, the flow constricts. The energy that once moved effortlessly through you becomes heavy, tangled in self-importance. True mastery is never about control but surrender, not about glory but grace. Psychology calls this inflation of the self-messiah syndrome, the mind's attempt to secure identity through cosmic importance. Yet power without devotion collapses under its own weight. Gratitude dissolves that illusion. When you remember the force moves through you, not by you, humility restores clarity. Like electricity through a wire, divine energy illuminates without pride. The awakened creator understands. Light belongs to the source, yet shines fully through the willing. Creation falters not because desire is weak, but because the one desiring does not yet believe they are worthy of what they seek. Within that dissonance, energy divides, one part calling for abundance, the other clinging to the familiar scarcity of the past. This inner fracture is the quiet cause of delay. The universe listens to vibration, not intention, and when identity and desire speak in different tones, the signal cancels itself. Neville Goddard summarized the remedy in one timeless phrase: assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Desire is not fulfilled by wanting. It is fulfilled by being. When you embody the state of already having, identity aligns with creation, and what was once contradiction becomes coherence. Psychology calls this the Galatea effect. The self-image dictates performance, success, and destiny. You never rise above the opinion you secretly hold of yourself. To reconcile desire and identity, language must evolve. Every phrase beginning with "I want" keeps the desired reality at a distance. Every statement beginning with "I am" draws it into presence. You cannot drive forward while pressing the brake. Belief and self-image must move as one. When they finally merge, manifestation becomes effortless. Desire ceases to reach outward and begins to unfold from within. When resistance fades, reality accelerates. Manifestations arrive so quickly that the body, still trained in limitation, mistakes expansion for chaos. What feels like collapse is simply transformation outrunning old structure. Neville Goddard called this the naturalness of instant creation. When assumption and identity finally align, life responds without friction. Yet the nervous system, wired for safety, resists the unfamiliar speed. Integration then becomes mercy, not delay. The vessel must strengthen to hold the energy it summoned. Creation is effortless, but embodiment takes care. Power, when grounded in balance, ceases to overwhelm and begins to sustain its own brilliance. True manifestation begins when creation is no longer a reaction. At this stage, the danger is not failure, but impurity, when desire still carries traces of fear or ego. Neville Goddard taught, "Your consciousness is God. Know no other cause." This is mastery. Knowing that the source of every form is the feeling from which it was born. When fear dictates creation, energy distorts. When love directs it, creation becomes effortless grace. Dr. Bruce Lipton's work confirms this harmony on a biological level. Coherent emotion aligns cellular signals, allowing the body and mind to broadcast one clear frequency. The conscious creator therefore pauses before imagining, discerning the true motive behind intention. Love expands, fear contracts. That moment of clarity refines vibration more than hours of effort. At final mastery, you no longer manifest to repair life, but to reveal truth. The power that once fueled control now moves as quiet precision. You create not to prove but to express. The energy that once formed chaos becomes light in motion. The purified creator no longer asks what to manifest, only how purely they can feel. In that purity, creation ceases to strive and begins simply to be. True mastery is remembrance. Creation was never granted. It has always been your nature. The same power that heals can harm when guided by fear. Aligned thought, emotion, and presence turn energy into grace. Awareness becomes precision. Responsibility becomes peace. The awakened creator no longer strives, only allows. Subscribe to awaken the power already shaping your world and learn to shape it consciously.